The right to keep and bear arms.
The right to not be subject to any unreasonable government searches or seizure.
Excellent. Freedom from unlawful search or unreasonable searches and seizures.
Right to a speedy trial.
Speedy trial.
Freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion. Exactly.
The right to vote.
Right to vote. Another good one.
Cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah. Excellent. So we are, as citizens, we have the right not to be subject to cruel and unusual punishments. And now suppose that, we'll just pick a few of these rights. How about the right to vote? And suppose that someone comes up to you and introduces himself as a fellow patriot, someone who really, really cares about protecting and defending your right to vote. Cares really deeply about it. Somebody who talks about all the times that he's voted, how important it is to go to the polls and all the elections and what a great, wonderful, important thing that voting right is for Americans. And then after that, he starts to try to convince you about his wonderful new plan. His wonderful new plan is to pass a law that bans everybody from voting who's not a registered Democrat. Okay? So this freedom-loving, vote-loving guy, he's like, my idea is we'll ban everyone who's not a Democrat from voting. He says that it would be, voting such a sacred right that we've got to stop Republicans and libertarians and others from ruining our country. So from now on, I think the law should say only Democrats are allowed to vote. How would you react to that person? What are you going to say to that guy? How serious are you going to take his plan? You won't, right? You're gonna think this guy's, you're just not going to be at all taking him seriously, and you're not going to fall for his idea. Suppose we'll talk about freedom of speech. Someone comes up to you and she starts preaching about how much she cares about her freedom of speech, how she exercises her freedom of speech all the time. Her parents cared a lot about it. They exercised their freedom of speech, and her grandparents did, and even her great-grandparents. They were all very, very fired up and passionate about their right of freedom of speech and used it all the time. But then she starts to try to talk you into supporting her new plan to ban talking about politics and religion. Because she explains that, politics and religion are so controversial. People get in all kinds of arguments over it. It ruins relationships. It really makes people angry. So from now on, we should just ban discussions of religion and politics. How are you going to react to her? You going to respect her idea? And then, what if somebody comes up to you and he tells you how much he appreciates our constitutional freedom to freely exercise our religion? But for the sake of tolerance and respecting diversity, especially of others who don't share our beliefs, he thinks we should make a law that says that freedom of religion can only happen within our churches on Sunday mornings. Are you going to let this guy take away your God-given constitutional freedom to worship God as you choose, to exercise your religion as you see fit? Okay, they sound ridiculous, right? You're probably thinking, nobody is dumb enough to buy into an argument like that. It's just stupid. It sounds ridiculous. These freedom-loving people who want to take away your freedoms. But when it comes to our constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, that is exactly what has happened and exactly what is happening now. People like New York's mayor, Bloomberg, spending millions of dollars to trick us into giving up more and more of our Second Amendment freedoms. He's not taking these freedoms away from us. He's literally convincing us to give them up, to let them go. And he and his front group, the Mayors Against Illegal Guns, they're running ads all over the country, and the ads are just like the examples I just talked about. The ads have people in the ads are portrayed as patriotic gun owners. They're hunters, they're sportsmen like you guys. They're people talking about the guns and firearms traditions that have been passed down through their family. They talk about how much they care about their Second Amendment rights. And then, just like that imaginary guy who wants to take away your right to vote, that imaginary gal that wants to take away your right to free speech, and that guy that wants to take away your right to worship and exercise your religious freedom, the guys and gals in Bloomberg's ads tell you that we need to cut off those Second Amendment rights that they just talked about that were so important, because it's for the good of the country, it's for our safety, it's for our security, it's for common sense. Again, it sounds ridiculous, right? It is ridiculous, but it's working. It's working for them. I brought along a book that any legislator in Pennsylvania can get this book. It's a book of the gun laws in Pennsylvania, many of which are restrictive laws that already exist. This is before anything that's happened lately. This is up through, I think, 2011. So here's an entire book full of gun laws, many of which are restrictive, many of which are the fruit of efforts like the efforts of Mayor Bloomberg. People are buying the idea that somehow you can stand there and be patriotic and say you support the Second Amendment, but you think there need to be restrictions on it. You think for our own good we need different restrictions. And here's an example. Now, keep in mind, this is Pennsylvania. We're kind of in the middle in terms of states, in terms of how much restriction we have on our gun rights. There's 49 other states. They all have laws like this.